You lie awake at 3 a.m. Your mind circles. Your chest feels heavy. Tomorrow brings uncertainty. Next week feels impossible. And somewhere deep inside, there's a voice telling you that everything might fall apart. This feeling, this weight is so real, isn't it? You're not alone in this. Right now, somewhere in the world, someone is feeling exactly what you're feeling. The anxiety, the what ifs, the endless loop of concern about things you cannot control. And yet, despite all of this, despite the weight of your worries, there is something you need to hear today. Something that can shift everything. Allah has not left you alone in this darkness. When you worry constantly, when anxiety becomes your default state, you are experiencing something deeper than just stress. You are experiencing a disconnection from trust. And trust, true trust in Allah, is the antidote to every worry that ever was. Think about this for a moment. When you worry, what are you really doing? You are assuming responsibility for things that were never yours to carry in the first place. You are taking on the weight of tomorrow, next year, and 10 years from now. You are carrying the burden of outcomes you cannot control, while Allah, the one who controls all outcomes, is waiting for you to simply lay it down. The Prophet, peace be upon him, spoke about worry the way a doctor speaks about disease. He understood that constant anxiety isn't just an emotion. It's a spiritual sickness. It weakens the heart. It distances us from Allah. It makes us forget that we are never ever truly alone. But here is what is beautiful. This sickness has a cure. And the cure begins the moment you realize something profound about yourself. This is the first realization that must settle into your heart. You cannot control outcomes. You work hard. You plan. You do what is within your power to do. And then, my beloved brother or sister, you must let go. Because after your effort comes the realm of Allah's dominion. And no amount of worry will move the needle of destiny, even 1 millimeter. A man plants a seed. He waters it. He tends to it with care. But he does not make it grow. The growth comes from Allah alone. The rain comes from Allah. The sun comes from Allah. The fruit comes from Allah. So why does he worry about the harvest as if the entire outcome rests on his shoulders? This is what we do with our life. We worry as if everything depends on us. We forget that everything depends on Allah. When you truly accept this, when you let it penetrate your bones, something shifts. The anxiety doesn't disappear overnight, but it loses its power. It becomes smaller because you have just removed the weight of the entire universe from your shoulders and placed it back where it belongs, in the hands of the Almighty. Open the Quran and you will find a pattern that repeats again and again. Whenever the believers faced impossible circumstances, whenever they stood at the edge of despair, Allah gave them a command, not a suggestion, a command. Do not fear, do not grieve, do not worry. But Allah never stopped there. He always followed these words with the reason, the foundation, the truth that makes these commands possible. For I am with you. This is not poetry. This is not metaphorical comfort. This is a statement of absolute reality. When you are worried, Allah is present. When you cannot see a way forward, Allah sees. When you feel abandoned in the dark, Allah is closer to you than your own heartbeat. The Prophet Abraham, peace be upon him, was thrown into a fire. The flames rose. The heat was unbearable. And what happened? Allah commanded the fire, be coolness and peace. Not because Abraham had a backup plan, not because he had figured out how to survive, but because he had placed his trust completely in Allah. Do you see the pattern? The moment trust becomes complete, the circumstances begin to shift. There's something I want you to understand about anxiety. It doesn't just make you feel bad in the moment. It steals something far more precious, your present. When you are worried about tomorrow, you are not truly alive today. You are living in a future that hasn't happened yet, chasing scenarios that may never occur. You miss the beauty of this moment, the breath you just took, the person sitting next to you, the meal in front of you, the mercy of Allah that is right now, not tomorrow. Worry is a thief of presence, and presence is where life actually happens. Think of a father who is so anxious about his son's future that he forgets to play with him today. The son is here now wanting connection, but the father's mind is years away, worried about things that haven't occurred. What has he lost? Everything that mattered. What has he gained? Nothing. This is what constant worry does to the soul. It trades the present, which is all we ever truly have, for an imagined future filled with suffering that may never come. And so the command comes. Be present, be here, be now. Because now is where Allah's mercy is. Now is where your life is. Now is where the answer to your prayer is waiting. There is an enemy of your peace, and it speaks directly into your mind. It whispers doubts. It magnifies fears. It makes small problems feel catastrophic. It tells you that you are not enough, that your efforts are not enough, that Allah's mercy might not reach you. This enemy is Shaitan, and Shaitan's favorite weapon against the believer is waswas, the whisper of doubt and fear. But here's what you must know. Shaitan cannot force you to worry. He cannot force you to fear. He can only whisper. He can only suggest. The power to accept or reject these whispers belongs entirely to you. When the whisper comes, and it will come when it tells you that everything will fall apart, you have a choice. You can listen, amplify it, and spiral into anxiety. Or you can recognize it for what it is, a lie from an enemy that wants nothing more than to separate you from the peace that comes from trusting Allah. The response is simple but powerful. When the whisper comes, you turn to Allah. You remember His names. Al-Wakil, the one in whom we place our trust. Al-Kafi, the one who is sufficient for us. As-Salam, the source of all peace. You speak these names. You let them settle into your heart. And gradually the whisper loses its grip. There is a word in Arabic that holds the key to freedom from worry. It is tawakkul. And tawakkul does not mean passivity. It does not mean sitting idle and waiting for miracles. Tawakkul means you do your part with excellence, and then you trust Allah completely with the outcome. This is the balance. This is the wisdom. You study hard for your exam. That is your responsibility. But you do not stay awake the entire night before, worried, sick, destroying your sleep and your mind. You study well, you sleep well, and you trust Allah with the results. This is tawakkul. You apply for the job. You prepare for the interview. You present yourself with confidence and integrity, and then you trust that if Allah has written this job for you, it will come to you, and if He has written something better, that will come instead. This is tawakkul. You work in your marriage. You communicate. You give love and effort, but you do not control your spouse's heart. You cannot force them to change. So you do your part and trust Allah with their heart. This is tawakkul. The moment you practice tawakkul, worry begins to lose its grip, because you have finally aligned yourself with reality. You are responsible for your effort. Allah is responsible for the outcome. And here is the miracle. When you truly release the outcome to Allah, when you stop trying to control what cannot be controlled, the anxiety doesn't just decrease. It transforms. It becomes motivation to do your best rather than paralysis from fear of failure. Now, I want to say something that might surprise you. Not all worry is bad. Not all anxiety is a sickness that needs to be cured immediately. Sometimes worry is a sign. It is telling you something. It is saying, pay attention, something needs to change. If you are worried about your health, perhaps that worry is nudging you to take better care of yourself. If you are anxious about a relationship that is toxic, perhaps that anxiety is wisdom, urging you to make a difficult but necessary change. If you feel uneasy about a decision, perhaps that unease is intuition, a gift from Allah telling you to reconsider. The question is not, how do I eliminate all worry? The question is, what is my worry trying to teach me? Listen to it, understand it, act on it if action is needed, and then crucially, release it. But if your worry is about things beyond your control, if it is circular and repetitive, if it is stealing your sleep and your peace without producing any positive action, then it is not a sign. It is a sickness, and a sickness requires a cure. Here is what I want you to do, starting today. This is not mystical, this is not complicated. It is simple and profound. Every morning before the day begins, sit quietly, close your eyes if you can, and speak to Allah, not in fancy words, in your own words, in your own language, from your own heart. Tell Him your worries, tell Him your fears, tell Him the things that keep you awake at night. And then this is crucial. Tell Him, I have done what I can. The rest is in your hands. I trust you. Repeat this throughout the day whenever worry arises, not as a mantra to escape reality, but as a reset, a reminder of what is true. And notice what happens. Notice how each time you consciously release your worry to Allah, your chest becomes a little lighter, your mind becomes a little clearer, your heart becomes a little more at peace. This is not magic. This is the natural result of aligning yourself with truth. This is what happens when you stop trying to carry the weight of the world and remember that the weight was never yours to carry. There is something happening right now that you cannot see. In every moment, Allah's mercy is working on your behalf. Not sometimes, not when you deserve it, always. A car that could have hit you didn't. A person who could have hurt you didn't. A disease that could have taken you didn't. A disaster that could have destroyed you didn't. Moment after moment, mercy is protecting you, and you didn't even notice. When you worry, you are essentially saying, what if Allah's mercy fails me? But His mercy has never failed you, not once in your entire life. Not in the hardest moment. Not in the times you felt most alone. Not ever. So the question is not, will Allah protect me? He always has. The question is, can I finally see and acknowledge the protection that has always been there? When you begin to see the unseen mercy, when you become aware of the constant protection, the worry doesn't disappear, but it changes. It becomes small. It becomes manageable, because you are standing in a reality far greater than your fear. I want you to know something profound. When you choose peace, when you refuse to allow worry to consume you, when you practice tawakkul and trust in Allah despite the uncertainty, this is not weakness. This is not escapism. This is worship. Your peace is a declaration. It is you saying to the universe, to shaitan, to your own doubts, my trust is in Allah. My reliance is on Him. My peace does not depend on circumstances. It depends on knowing that Allah is in control. This is powerful. This is radical. This is the kind of peace that the world cannot give you and cannot take away. The anxiety may return. The whispers may come again. Life will present new challenges and new uncertainties. But now you know something that you did not know before. You know that within you is a source of peace that is deeper than all of this. A source that flows directly from trust in Allah. Hold on to this. Return to this. Practice this. Yo Allah, the most merciful and compassionate, I come to you with the weight of my worries, the anxiety that lives in my chest, the fears that haunt my nights. I surrender all of this to you. Grant me the wisdom to do what is within my power and the peace to trust you with everything else. Heal my anxious heart. Strengthen my faith. Remind me in every moment of doubt that you are with me, that your mercy surrounds me, that your protection never fails. Grant me the peace of the believers, the peace that comes from knowing that the outcome is in your hand. And make me among those who trust you completely, not just with their words, but with their hearts. Ameen, Ya Rabba. May Allah protect your home, your heart, and your peace. May He remove the anxiety from your chest and replace it with the certainty of His protection. May you feel in the depths of your being that you are never ever alone. And may the days ahead bring you not the absence of challenges, but the presence of peace. A peace that remains steady while everything around you changes. Because that peace, dear believer, is not dependent on circumstances. It is dependent on knowing that you belong to Allah. And Allah never abandons those who belong to Him.